President Cyril Ramaphosa will subject himself to the ANC's Integrity Commission to account for the controversy surrounding the funding of his 2017 campaign to lead the ANC. The CR17 campaign was the vehicle used to mobilize financial support for Ramaphosa's presidential ambitions. Newzroom Afrika has reliably learnt that the president used his opening speech at the ANC's Special National Executive Committee to tell his detractors that he is not above party discipline and scrutiny. Ramaphosa has been under attack from his opponents within the party, including former President Jacob Zuma, to account for the alleged 1 billion rand that was privately raised for his campaign 3 years ago. The ANC meeting started on Friday and is expected to end tomorrow. We now discuss this story with our politics editor, Ngalwa. We speak again, and I did say yesterday that it does look like the conversation between you and me is not going to end, especially looking at how things are this weekend. We're seeing the president saying that he's going to subject himself to the ANC's Integrity Commission. Is this just a show or PR stunt?
Not at all, Bongiwe, because actually I think it's important for the president. Part of our discussion yesterday was actually about accountability and why he should actually take the wind out of the sails of his detractors and be transparent. And all along, the president has been hiding behind the court processes, because as you would recall, there is the issue of the public protector's report, which revealed some of the details about his funding. Now, that case is before the Constitutional Court. So whenever that issue is raised, his immediate reaction is always to say, no, the matter is before court, so I can't speak about it. But actually, what he was doing was arming his detractors. So I think, in a way, it's a tactical move on his part to actually disarm his detractors. Because if you look at what at the tone and also the similar pattern in the letters that were written firstly by the former Youth League Deputy President, Andile Lungisa, and also in the letter we saw yesterday from the former President Jacob Zuma, they are raising the same issues, and also uppermost in their minds, uppermost in their complaints, is the issue of the funding of the CR17 funding. So I think two things are to emerge out of this. One, it's that Ramaphosa wants to project himself as someone who, as he says, that he's not above party scrutiny. But two, it places pressure, it puts pressure on other ANC leaders who have been avoiding appearing before the Integrity Committee. Now, if as the leader of the party, he is appearing before the Integrity Committee, actually he gives some necessary gravitas that the Integrity Commission has been missing.
So, I mean, honestly, you look at the work of the Integrity Commission itself, it has been ignored by this political party for quite some time. So was it really a tactical move to go to the one arm of that organization that has continuously been ignored?
Look, the reality is that the ANC actually has treated the Integrity Commission with such disdain, and that has been raised by the Integrity Commission itself. In its reports and also in interviews we've had with the leader, with the chair of the Integrity Commission. And they do raise the fact that a number of times either they have been ignored or they have, their recommendations have merely disappeared. But what this tells you, though, is that if you saw the one-man protest by Mzwandile Masina, the chairperson of the ANC Neguruleni, he's raising the same thing, which seems to be coming up now also in the ANC, where there's a realization that by not effecting the resolution of conference, of the past conference and 2012 conference, which is to give power to an Integrity Commission to investigate, the ANC is doing itself a disservice, and that issue seems to be coming up more and more, that the party has to respect its structures, and I think perhaps this is Ramaphosa's way of mending ways with the Integrity Commission. But I think it's also a reflection, the fact that the Integrity Commission's recommendations have been ignored before, that's also a bad reflection on his leadership.
And really talking about his leadership, it has been under scrutiny for quite some time, particularly when you look at what has been done when it comes to issues of corruption. Some have even said that the ANC is in this position right now, where it's seeing such a retaliation because he did not speak tough like he did last week.
I think he spoke tough. It's the action that was missing. And I think people make a distinction between someone being in a position and leadership. But obviously, position of a president is a powerful position, and it demands of the person holding that office to provide leadership and to convince society and be able to move their followers towards a desired outcome. So leadership is about being effective and also being decisive, and I think those are the two important components that have been missing from the president so far. I mean, military strategies, the ancient Chinese military strategist Sun Tzu tells you that you attack that which you perceive to be weak, but you run away from an opponent who appears strong. So if his opponents in the ANC are actually going after him like this, it actually tells you that to an extent they do also perceive him to be weak at this point in time.
I want us to talk about Mzwandile Masina's symbolic I would say one-man protest outside that venue that would have been the venue of the NEC, because that's where we've been seeing them go to, you know, all these years. But really, what is he hoping to achieve? When you were talking to him, what exactly is the end game there?
Well, Mzwandile Masina says that he is out there as a concerned ANC member, actually calling on the party's leadership to provide, to lead actually, and to provide direction to the structures. He seems, in what he's saying, to be actually taking cue from the letter of the president, because he does reference the fact that the president referred to ANC being accused, number one, and he says that it also has implications on him. So, but what he says ought to happen is that the leadership of the ANC needs to be decisive in dealing with its own resolution. It goes back actually to the very point we have been discussing here, where the ANC's own resolution, the resolution of the 2017 conference of the ANC on the Integrity Commission is clear, Bongiwe. It says that if you are charged with corruption or you are mired in some controversy which has a bearing on the integrity of the party, the commission can invite you. And you explain to yourself, you have to explain yourself to the commission. If they are satisfied with your response, then you can carry on with your job. But if not, they can ask you to step aside. That the last NEC meeting of the ANC from last month can actually then decide to ask the ANC's top six to find some kind of mechanism. It means to deal with issues of corruption. It means that they actually are not implementing their own resolution, which is one of the points that Mzwandile Masina was raising today, to say that the resolutions are there and they are clear. Please, anyone who's charged with corruption, who is before court, it's a no-brainer. They should step aside to save the integrity of the party.
So was he specific to say which members should be going before this Integrity Commission and making them available, and also step aside to implement the resolutions of the party? Or is he simply just calling on President Cyril Ramaphosa here? Or is he looking at the SG as well, Esma Khashule? Is he also looking at former eThekwini Mayor Zandile Komede? Is he broadening his scope here, or is it just towards one man?
Look, he actually didn't call for the president to step aside. He did not. He said if the president is charged with fraud and corruption, then he should step aside. And then he was clear in saying that any member of the ANC who is charged with fraud and corruption, regardless of who they are, they should step aside. But the reality is that Mzwandile Masina is no political novice, nor is he innocent of the ANC's factional battles. So it's, when you look at him, you actually cannot help but locate him within a faction within the ANC. So whatever comes out of his mouth has to be, sometimes is interpreted within those terms, but from what he was saying today, it was clear he was actually a position of principle which actually stems from the ANC's own resolutions. Obviously, it's probably there's some political outcome that he's looking for, but that's another story for another day.
And Sbu, I want us to talk about, I know we're not privy to the discussions, but certainly this is the time to be working the sources and getting a sense of what is happening there and being discussed behind closed doors. Are we hearing anything?
Well, so far, I think the most important thing stemming out of that meeting so far was the declaration by the president to say that he will appear before the Integrity Commission. Obviously, today, one of the issues, I'm sure they'll be debating some of those issues today. Some of those, the president's political input and some of the presentations that would have been presented. But more importantly, though, the reason why, one of the important reasons why this meeting was called was to deal with the ANC's preparation for the 2021 local government election. So I think those issues are the issues that are dominating discussions at the ANC meeting.
And Sbu, yesterday we spoke extensively, regarding this letter of former President Jacob Zuma. And one can really just wonder, I mean, of course it's going to form part of the discussions within the NEC. Can we look at disciplinary measures here?
Look, I strongly believe that actually that letter went beyond the common realms of courtesy and decency. Actually, it was quite scathing and insulting to the president of the ANC. But I doubt actually that the ANC would want to hold a Jacob Zuma before a disciplinary committee, because Jacob Zuma knows how to play that game. He played it very well. It happened in 2015, where he was fired as deputy president, and come June, July of 2015 at the NGC, that NGC brought him back. And throughout that period up to the Polokwane conference, Jacob Zuma was riding that wave of victimhood, and it served him very well. Now, the last thing that Cyril Ramaphosa would want to do is to put Jacob Zuma in that position where he can be able to mobilize, because that letter actually was never intended for Cyril Ramaphosa or Gwede. It was it was meant to target the heartstrings of ANC supporters and make Jacob Zuma appear to be what is perceived to be the true leader of the revolution, so to speak.